Hello friends, welcome back to pricing, a very important part of product and brand management. And we have seen till now that how various forms and types of pricings, they actually are strategic in orientation. Further, we would be moving ahead with few techniques associated with pricing, but primarily I will initiate this discussion with promotional pricing, because in consonance with this discussion I would be taking you ahead with some elements of packaging, distribution and promotion, which are an integral part of product and brand management, and we have talked about this correlation earlier as well. So, let us see how promotional pricing works, and I will be brief in this kind of a discussion. Some of these aspects are quite explicit in nature. You can refer to the slides provided to you and the literature as well. References are clearly given with every slide, and I will be descriptive wherever the perspective has to be elaborated upon. So, you see, promotional pricing is when prices are temporarily priced below list price to increase demand. And then the strategic perspective is, wherein special event pricing has to be done, cash rebates have to be done, low interest financing has to be done. It's promotional in character, I should say. There are some specific techniques. For example, complementary pricing. You see, this applies to products that are used together when one of the products fills a sustainable need. For example, HP printers and printer cartridges, any printer for that matter, along with the cartridges. So, there is a complementary pricing associated with that, and this pricing has been very important in due course of time. You would have realized that the price of the printers, it kept on reducing in due course of time, and as and when the usage increased, and the price of the cartridges got sustained and the total profitability rose actually. So, complementary pricing is also used for services that have fixed and variable components. For example, electricity, water bills have a fixed monthly fee and a variable usage fee as such. Then you see, some other techniques include value pricing. For example, value based pricing is the method of setting a price by which a company calculates and tries to earn the differentiated worth of its product for a particular customer segment when compared to its competitors. So, they focus on single segment, compare with next best alternative and so on. To understand how value based pricing works, let us take one example. Brand A, that is about to launch a new LED television, wants to figure out the price for its new 65-inch LED TV, the biggest screen size in the marketplace at the same time. The company's closest competitor, Brand B, recently introduced a 60-inch TV for Rs 54,000 or so. Both TVs have other features that are similar. Both have built-in Wi-Fi, the same level of definition, same level of HDMI input, same refresh rate and so on. How much will big screen TV shoppers pay for an extra 5 inches of screen size? Let us say it is to the levels of few hundred to ₹1,000, or in dollars $15 to $800 or so, as the case describes. The value based price of a brand A's TV is around $1,000, or in Indian rupees around 65,000-70,000 rupees. To accomplish this step, marketers typically use research methods like conjoint analysis or qualitative customers interviewing, wherein comparison is the mainstay. So, you see, this kind of an exercise is done, and why I slightly describe this in front of you is because that many a times when you have to decide a price, you just not go along with the ongoing rates or markups or those kind of things. You introduce something and try to analyze that with the perspective of customer response before actually leading it towards being a strategy in itself. So, some other techniques include, let us say everyday low pricing, a policy or strategy of retail pricing whereby presumably low prices are set initially on items and maintained as opposed to the occasional offering of items at special or reduced sales prices. For the consumer, everyday low pricing simplifies decision making and search costs. And there are several examples. I talked about weekly reducing prices also, which were introduced by several mobile companies or handset companies around the world. So, you see why? Because many a times this kind of a pricing is meant to attract the people who are taking time in decision making to purchase the product. On the other side, many a times this kind of reducing prices, this kind of prices are introduced for people who not only want to decide late, but would not be buying the new technologically innovative product which the company is introducing in a quick succession. For example, a mobile manufacturer wants to introduce a model within 6 months or a year. They have number of customers for the existing handset in their view. So, they want to capture the complete number of customers. There would be few customers who would either wait for the new model or would go for an alternative because of a particular kind of a price. And you see, so looking at that particular segment or number of customers, you reduce the prices so that getting attracted by that price, they move towards your offer. On the other side, you are ready to come up with the new technological innovation which you have planned for, not engaging too much on the sales of the existing equipment. So, you see, hidden price increases are there. A policy or strategy to raise prices without explicitly increasing the posted price. For example, Kimberly-Clark tried to sneak in a 5% price increase by cutting the number of diapers in each package of its Huggies brand of disposable diapers. It is not they are actually deceptive basically, but you see when you offered a particular packet of product, though you are offering larger number of goods or weight of the product or whichever way you want to measure that, the price slightly is a hindrance for the customer to move towards that product. So, while putting up a reduction in price, you reduce an optimal portion of that particular packet, and then somehow customer gets attracted because that resolves a meeting point somewhere between the customer's perspective and his need as well. So, you see, price discrimination maximizes products profit by charging each market segment the price that maximizes profits. It is difficult to implement a price discrimination policy, particularly in consumers market, due to the fragmentation of the customer base and the existence of firms that buy at one segment's low prices and resell to the others, such as consolidators in airline tickets and so on. Second, market discounting is also there. A useful pricing strategy when excess production exists is called second market discounting. This policy sells the extra production at a discount to a market separate from the main market. If the product is sold at a price greater than the variable cost, the contribution margin produced can help cover corporate overheads and so on. The idea which we are getting through these techniques, and why am I calling these techniques? Because these may not be permanent in nature. They can be introduced as per the time's requirements. They can be introduced for bringing a coherence between your production processes and the pressure from the competition and the fluctuative requirements and desire of the customer. In my mobile phone example, for example, a customer is having a handset wants another handset, doesn't wants to switch over from his existing product because they may have purchased that recently, but still would like to have another because of some requirement. Now, that is where reducing pricing might work. So, there are several reasons for that, and that would justify your forecast in terms of how much products to produce and so on, and when to change the orientation of the line towards different kind of a product with a variation. So, you see here almost everything what we have discussed is coming to us with a concentric focus on price as a strategy. There is a periodic discounting, you see, and then, this can be thought of with an example like utilities such as electricity and telephone service use peak load pricing policies that charge more during the heaviest usage periods, partly to encourage off peak usage. This can be seen with I mentioned this, that Wednesday pizza prices. So, that can also be in a periodic time based kind of pricing perspective. Now, you see there are some steps in setting prices. Up till now we have seen the strategic perspective. Now, let us look at a methodological perspective, and largely these are 6, and I have always been saying that this is kind of an evolving kind of a thing. Basically, you may add on or you may reduce or club in few of the steps as per your understanding and desire. This can always be done. So, but to broadly look at it, we have 6 steps. Determine pricing objectives that we have seen, study costs, one has to look into costs, and that too with a very fine point of view. Estimating demand, very crucial, and I am not talking of forecasting, large estimation of demand. So, keeping all the factors in view, looking at competition, we have talked about competitors analysis, deciding on a pricing strategy, reaching to which price to be introduced, and then set the price. So, objectives, definitely which way we want to look at it, for how long product would be remaining in this form in a particular trajectory as far as the life cycle situation goes, what is the number of customers we are looking at, then what would be the repeat purchase kind of a context associated with a particular product. Is it a durable or a non-durable or a consumption product, consumable, whichever way. So, you see then we have to think for almost everything while setting the objectives. The rest is explicit through the slide. Studying the cost. Now, since the main reason for being in business is to make a profit, one has to consider the costs involved in making or acquiring the goods or services one offers. And cost analysis is again from starting till end in case of a particular product. That is individualistic, although it can be seen with a category cost perspective also, but again only and only if the raw material sources are quite universal. So, purchase perspective is there, that you have purchased this much of raw material and then you are shaping it into different kinds of products within a category and so on. But again it has several complexities, because you see the human resource involvement, the cost of that, and then research and development associated with that, and then especially in terms of an ongoing R&D perspective. It is such a complex situation. I would not go into the mathematics of that, or let us say analysis of that, but just to give you an idea, we have to study it with a fine perspective. Here product manager takes help of almost everyone involved in in the cost structure analysis. Demand estimation, employ market research techniques to estimate consumer demand. You have to go to the customer and not just talk about the intent, but talk about the willingness and commitment to purchase. How to go about it? Reflexivity has the key, but people engage several survey techniques several quantitative analysis techniques, especially in case of the products which are not very new. They have been used in one or the other form and so on. Competition analysis we have talked about, so it's quite well described there as well and here in front of you. So, investigating the competitors to see what prices they are charging for similar goods and services and why. What is their analysis in terms of growing demand and how do they look at it. Then one must decide at pricing strategy. Now, you see, one may decide to price the product higher than the competition because one believes that the product is superior. One believes is one thing, one can actually justifiably project that belief in front of his customers, that is the other thing. We will see that how it is done when we will be talking about the promotional aspect just after this session. You may decide to set a lower price with the understanding that you will raise it once the product is accepted in marketplace, and then price setting comes in. So, it is step by step kind of a thing basically, but involves lots of analysis. There are some common pricing mistakes also. Determine costs and take traditional industry margins which may not be valid for you. Then failure to revise price to capitalize on market changes. Foreseeing market changes is a very important thing which one has to do in terms of looking at how prices may fluctuate. And you see, that depends upon several components. So, you have to be vigilant in terms of what is happening and many a times, for example, recently there was an incident and it's a common one, these kind of incidents they do happen. Some microprocessors were delayed as far as their manufacturing goes, which affected automotive industry and fluctuated the prices in terms automotive industry had to absorb it somehow, but their margins got reduced. On the other side, it affected on some processes. So, you see, either you have to offset these kind of fluctuations, but you can do that only if you are very large, if you can do that actually. Otherwise, you are dependent upon these fluctuations, but how would you foresee these fluctuations? So, that is what one has to do, keep a vigil on what is happening around you. Setting price independently of the rest of the marketing mix. Now, that is a very big kind of a gap which must not be there. Everything should be in consonance with everything. Now, I will be taking you towards product packaging, one of the most important components, and it has become a prominent as well. And I have talked about this earlier with some strategic aspect, but here I would go through a brief description on this. So, and then so that we can justifiably look at packaging as one of the components in terms of distribution as well, and representation of the product as well, and on the other side a carrier and a vehicle to be used in promotion as well. So, you see, packaging refers to the container used to protect, promote, transport and or identify a product. The three basic principles of packaging are as described in figure 1 is protection including tamper proofing and transportation, then identification and labeling, and containment and use of product. These basic principles need to be met with all packaging and optimal overall costs. One of the most important elements you would realize is that protection is an implied kind of an element. Labeling has to be there, but labeling has to be utilized with the perspective of extending valid relevant information. That is very important, for example, in terms of pharmaceuticals, for example, and food products, because ingredients have to be explicit there. So, labeling matters a lot. And then containment and use of product, definitely. See, I would not go much deeper into as far as the complete protection scenario goes, we all understand. But for example, Zomato uses tamper-proof packaging where seal can only be broken by cutting off the top end strip. Now, this not only justifies the fact that food has reached you as it was packed, not tampered in between, plus it was packed in a fresh mode, so it remains fresh up till the point it reaches you, the packaging justifies that. So, these kind of elements are very important. Not only it affects the brand positively, but also you see, you have ordered for something, you are sitting at home, you want fresh food, and that is what you require for. And whole of the consumer products industry, especially food industry, and ready to cook food industry, and frozen food industry, all is dependent upon packaging actually. Milk industry, milk products industry, ice cream industry, you see, Amul is reaching to the corners of this country because of their Tetra packs and packaging and so on. And then before, they were not so aggressive in as far as their packaging and packaging technology goes, they were not distributing it to the farthest of the corners of the country. They have increased their distribution, not primarily because of this, but this is one of the most prominent reasons of that. So, you see, that is where packaging plays a very important role. It becomes the reason for enhancing the sales levels many a times. Containment again has similar kind of an element. You see, there is a requirement for such packaging to have dispensing and reselling features for fluids like milk, orange juice and hairspray and so on. I have just mentioned that. In identification, canned food produce is a clear example of the importance of identification. The role of packaging includes information how the product is used, establishment of brand identity and promotion of sale. You see, there are several elements. Labeling, wherein you make the ingredients explicit, but you require people to tell, people to know that how to use this product. Many a times you would find let us say toys which are to be assembled or reassembled by children for playing, they just have a paper describing what kind of shapes you can make how, and then that is sometimes inserted there. But now people have started interestingly projecting that thing on the packaging itself. So, as soon as when a young child goes to a shop along with his elders to purchase this kind of a toy, on the box itself it is explicit what he would find in store in the box actually. So, that is a wonderful kind of a thing, and then there are several other elements too as far as identification goes, and here are two wonderful examples. Paperboard packaging itself incorporates toy packs, the shapes of which are designed to feel like squeezing a fruit. Paperboard has become famous for the kind of packaging they have offered in their drinks. So and then it not only actually gives a specific positioning to the product, it can be identified wherever they are kept, and then it has a particular resonance with the kind of the product it carries actually. You want to squeeze it while drinking. So that actually makes a lot of sense. And to make it easier for people to apply oil on the hair, Indulekha introduced a selfie bottle in 2014 which incorporated a comb shaped cap. Now, this is again, you see, just put that bottle on the hair and just keep on swaying it on the hair, and then that comb structure spreads evenly, spreads the oil or the liquid or the product evenly within the hair, otherwise you have to rub it through your fingers. It's very good, interesting idea and very innovative too. So, this can also be thought with the perspective of product innovation as such, but not the core product, packaging. So, this example talks about packaging to be an integral part of product usage and comfort which it generates for the consumer for using the product. Labeling, I have talked about it, and the details are there. So, you may pursue that. There are several elements of warnings and certifications also included in labeling, and there are some legal aspects which are to be mentioned on the labels also by law, which are compulsory. So, labeling resolves many kinds of purposes. There are several characteristics of packaging. Packaging purpose is to dispense, enable storage, bring in stability, to make the handling easier, and then disposal as well. Today, in the era when we are focusing upon sustainability, almost all the packaging material is designed for recycling and reusage. That is one part. And if somehow you can't do that, then that material can be disposed of in a sustainable manner, wherein it should not become the part of huge waste which has been created around this world. So, that is how organizations are looking at as far as the packaging perspective goes. So, here comes a stage wherein packaging is associated with sustainability perspective as well, and it is a very big deal, because you see, the larger the consumption, the larger the levels of packaging become in this world. So, I will stop my discussion on the techniques of pricing which I discussed with you a few minutes back, and the importance of packaging and labeling as again with as a strategy or with strategic perspective, wherein I would end with a very important example, though I have mentioned that earlier in my earlier videos. IKEA Furnitures wrote history when they started utilizing their packaging and packaging perspective, that is dimensional aspect of packaging, rectangular boxes, to restructure their production processes, the complete design element of the products and the processes. And rest is history. They have enabled themselves with different kind of an edge because of that thinking process. There are several articles written on IKEA Furnitures, there are several case studies written on IKEA Furnitures, and they show that explicitly how they are using that in many of their videos available on YouTube. Watch those, enjoy those, and think of packaging as an important part of product management. I will come back to you with a discussion on distribution and promotion in my next session. Till then, goodbye.